I forget. I was gonna do that sound that they. What was it? What was the sound that they made to open the fucking door thing?
Yeah, it was just a high-pitched hum.
Or,
Yeah,
it was Nichelle doing it. You could tell that was Nichelle.
Oh yeah.
Perhaps I could use this as an excuse to go to those far-off planets with little polka-dotted people if necessary, and be able to talk about love, war, nature, God, sex, all those things that go to make up the excitement of the human condition.
I'm Captain James Kirk.
Captain Kirk.
Kirk of the Starship Enterprise.
And the ineluctable Mr. Spock.
Mr. Spock, my first officer.
Captain Dr. Spock of...
I can't imagine.
Kirk of the Starship Enterprise.
Did I ever tell you about the time I saved Captain Kirk's life?
Kirk of the Starship Enterprise.
What a blessing to be able to live one's life over again. If the life you've led has left you unfulfilled.
And welcome to Humanist Trek. It's a Star Trek podcast about the humanism in Star Trek. I'm Sarah Ray.
And I'm Allie Ashmead.
And we do now have a recap of our time at RetroMania. This isn't podcast magic now where we're just making shit up. We actually had a wonderful time, and we thought we'd tell you a little bit about it here before we get into this episode.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was not as busy as it was last year.
It was very slow. So if you would all go to humanisttrek.com and click the merch link and buy some shit, that'd be great. I don't think we made our table feedback. We did not make our table feedback because we spent it on fucking tattoos.
So we get there, set up our table, and we're next to a wonderful lady that we met. Her name is Linnea Tanner. She's a writer. I think she writes, fantasy sort of and genre, and we made friends. But then next to her, I'm like, oh my God, are they setting up a tattoo table? And I'm like, that's such a great idea. Had no intention of getting a tattoo.
No,
but they're there. I mean, that's a great idea to bring someone like that because everyone wants tattoos.
Those guys were brilliant for being there.
Oh,
yeah.
Honestly,
and they were
100%.
I mean, there wasn't a moment we looked over there where they were not busy. They had a steady stream of people signed up, and they were throwing ink all weekend, including us.
Yeah, I was like, Saturday, I'm like, Sarah, I'm going to get a tattoo. And I decided this before I looked at their books. So they came with just a set of tattoos that they could just throw on really quick that are nerdy. And I didn't see anything Star Trek. So I chose something else that I love. Another show I love, the Doctor Who. So I chose Dalek.
Which came out awesome. They did red shading in your Dalek.
Yeah, and that's my first color tattoo. Was always told by other tattoo artists, oh, color won't show up on you. I'm like, and he's like, that's not true. He's like, your skin is the best for color.
Nice.
I was like, cool. All right.
So then I put some thought into it because I was like, okay, here's the thing. Tattoos are like Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop. Once you have the first one, you want another one. And in fact, the minute the needle goes in your skin, you're already ready to plan the next one.
100%. I'm already got a sleeve going. I'm going to what can I put around? This is going to be my nerdy arm. The whole arm is going to be covered.
Yep. So when I got my last tattoo, I've been wanting one ever since. So I bit the bullet and decided to get one. And I got a Mario 1-Up mushroom. And it looks great, too. It's like a watercolor with sketch lines and stuff. It's neat.
I almost got a Mario mushroom, but mine was going to be red, but it wasn't just going to be the normal one. And then I changed my mind for the Dalek.
Yeah, no, the Dalek is very much more Allie to me.
Definitely. Well, I mean, I want to do everything on that arm.
But those boys need to get some Trek designs in their notebook if they're going to be coming to stuff like that, because I would definitely have gotten a Trek tattoo.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
And internet was bad, so otherwise I would have looked something up and sent it to him, and then he would have printed it out. But I was like, I'll just get something that I love. So yeah, it was cool. So my tattoo artist was from Venezuela, and Didn't speak very good English. Well, actually, he did speak English really well. He just was kind of not confident about it.
Yeah.
And then luckily, I've been learning Spanish. So the whole time I was getting tattooed, we were speaking in Spanish. And it was like really cool. And so we made a friend. We made 2 friends. Both we now
We made a whole
following
bunch of friends. Yeah.
Yeah. So shout out to, and the name of the tattoo,
It's Allegoric Art. And if you go to allegoricart.com, you can check out their website. Nick, I believe, is the guy who did mine.
Yep. They are in Golden, Colorado.
Yeah.
And then Jess was the guy who did mine. And yeah, so I might even take a trip out there and have him,
Do some more.
start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Well, that's something that you and I will need to schedule. We can go get Trek tattoos together.
Hell yeah. I did want to shout out to Linnea Tanner. She was such a awesome partner, neighbor, booth neighbor. I don't know what you call it,
Well,
but yeah. So
as we learned at Galacticon, your booth neighbors make a big difference in how your convention experience goes.
Yes, and
yeah,
she's amazing. So much fun. So she is an older woman, and she'd never had a tattoo before. And then, of course,
so we did what we did, and we pressured her into getting a tattoo. We didn't.
We are such a bad influence. We're bad
We are. I'm such an instigator and an enabler, and when the 2 of us get together, look out.
Yeah, it's we are a hot mess. So yeah, so she ended up getting her very first tattoo ever, and she's like, I don't know what I'm going to tell my husband. And I'm like, well, just tell him this is your brand, because she's a writer and she has a raven on her books. So I'm like,
that's kind of her
brand.
symbol. Yeah.
So she got her first tattoo.
I'm so proud. Yeah, I'm so proud of her.
I'm so proud. So definitely check out Linnea Tanner and some of her books.
So it's LinneaTanner.com, and that's spelled Linnea Tanner, TANNER.com. And her books, and this is like a series, right? So
yes, so the 4-book series that I actually bought all 4, and I'm going to definitely take a read.
Apollo's Raven, Dagger's Destiny, Amulet's Rapture, and Skull's Vengeance. Oh, there's a 5th book coming out soon.
Yep.
So you got to get caught up on those 4 so you can jump on book 5 when it comes out.
Heck yeah.
So this is the tagline at the top there is Curse of Clansmen and Kings. So that gives you kind of a feel for the genre that you're going into. Yeah.
Celtic tales of love, magic, adventure, intrigue, and betrayal. And it sounds amazing.
Another friend we made at this convention is Randy James, who Star Trek fans might know as Lieutenant Jones on Next Gen and Deep Space Nine. He was mostly a background actor. And
yeah, but he was in a lot of episodes.
Yeah. He was like a server in 10 Forward. He played a whole bunch of different things, but
DS9, I think he was some sort of like engineer maybe or something. I know because he worked with O'Brien, and like he's one of those actors. Like if you saw him, you'd be like, "Oh, that guy."
Yeah.
Because
so here's the story. So we're standing at our booth, probably bullshitting with Linnea next door, just chit chatting, killing time, shooting the breeze.
Yeah, we did a lot of shooting the breeze.
And do you remember me talking about Randy James at all leading up to this? Because I know we talked about like, oh, these people are going to be here, and Sid Croft and the Land of the Lost People and all that stuff. We talked about that, but I don't remember. And so when he came by and was like, holy shit, Star Trek people. And we were like, oh yeah, we do a podcast. We were launched into our bit. And he was like, I was on Star Trek. And we were like, the fuck you say?
And
we had no idea he was going to be there. Like, not a clue. So, so then we walked down to his table and we're like, oh, that guy.
Well, he wasn't there because but we were going to come back. He was on his way to maybe take a break. And we're like, okay, well, I'm about to get a tattoo, sit in the chair.
Yep.
And we wanted to definitely schedule some time where he was in the, at his booth so we could get a photo.
Yeah.
And talk some more.
But we didn't get to do that. He did sign something. But yeah, what a nice guy. Just wanted to chat with us and very approachable, super cool.
Yeah, I think he would be amazing to interview. Like,
And I talked to him about that, and he was up for it. So we'll have to think, like, because what I'd really like to do is bring him on when we get to Next Gen, because we'll be talking about the show he was on, right?
mm-hmm.
So that maybe we'll do that,
Yeah, absolutely.
So I also wanted to talk about this letter that we received, that we have both now read this because we did a live video at RetroMania. This is from Lewis. Hello, Sarah and Allie. My partner Noah and myself met you over in RetroMania at Aurora, Colorado over a year ago, and I just want to thank you for making this show. I'm an author who never had the opportunity to watch Star Trek as a child, but listening to this show as I go through the episodes has really helped contextualize a lot of what makes this series special. The humanist examination of Star Trek through y'all's show has been really awesome and is, not gonna lie, influencing me as I write my own queer-focused fiction. Thank you for taking the time to read this, and I'm so excited for the next episode. Thank you, Luis.
Woo, woo. That's amazing. That's like the best letter that anyone could get. Because
Yeah.
I mean, we do this stuff for fun, and we hope someone listens or gets something out of it.
Right. We can see that 13 of you are out there, but if we don't hear from you, we don't know what that means.
Yeah. So, yeah. Thank you for your feedback, and I'm just loving this. This is amazing.
We just can't believe that you are out there listening to us do this thing that we do and getting something from it. That's great.
We love this. We love Star Trek, like, obviously, and it's important to us. So we love talking about it. And if someone can get something from that, then hey,
yeah,
mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. Unfurl the banner, George. Mission accomplished. And how interesting that this letter came in like a week before RetroMania this year.
Yeah.
So a year from our first meeting. That's really cool.
Yeah.
We're also scheduled to be at Fort Collins Comic-Con coming up in August, I think, or September. We'll get you the dates to that at some point. We're currently in talks to figure out where we're going to be set up and how we're going to be set up. And we may do a live show there. We may do a panel. We're not really sure yet, but stay tuned for all of that. Finally, Allie, I wanted to ask how your dating life is going. Are you attracting men in any particular way?
No. There's a lot of beards and hats. But no. There's no bites. I don't have that. Je ne sais quoi. Like some other women I know. You
know, you need to figure out what your siren song is. Maybe it's an F sharp. I don't know. Anyway, it's Star Trek, the animated series, season 1, episode 4, The Lorelei Signal.
Sir, contact with an object. It's moving toward us. No visual contact yet.
Deflector is full intensity.
Mr. Sulu, yes, Captain. Anything on your scanners?
It's coming at light speed.
Collision course. Visual contact.
Anything, over?
All wavelengths dominated by ionization effects, sir.
All engines full stop.
So this week, the Enterprise is exploring what sounds like a kind of Bermuda space triangle because they've been losing ships here left and right. In fact, in talking with the Klingons and the Romulans, there's been a ship lost here exactly every 27.346 star years. Maybe we should start doing something new.
What do you mean?
Maybe we should talk about our predictions at the top of each episode for the animated series, since neither of us have really seen much of it. Because here's my prediction for this episode. My prediction is there's an energy matter cloud being that lives in this Bermuda Triangle.
I am Melllvar!
And it needs to eat every 27.346 years. This is where the cloud went back home to. That has to be.
Oh, that would have been great. You know what? You're right. I think before I watch each episode, I'll have to write what I'm predicting this is to be about.
Yeah,
and then
like,
we'll see how right we are.
Right? Like you take the first 5 minutes, that first scene, right, where they set up the problem, and then okay, and guess, yeah.
Okay, we'll have to do it after the triples.
Yeah. So yellow alert as the Enterprise arrives at the Bermuda Space Triangle, and Uhura's got something on the subspace ham radio pretty quickly, and she puts it on speaker. Uhura thinks this sound is musical, but my first thought was insect. This sounded like buzzing to me.
I didn't think insect, but I'm curious. I wish they would have given us a taste of what Uhura was hearing, because like music.
Yeah.
Because she was hearing music and the guys were hearing something completely different.
Meanwhile, Spock has discovered that the Enterprise is being probed from a star system 20 light years away, the Taurian system. Kirk, Scotty, and Spock all seem to have a sudden strange feeling in their pants.
Oh my.
In their nether regions. They feel like it's calling to them. They're feeling like it's a summons of some kind, and they feel strange.
Of course.
But Uhura's like, what are you fucking talking about, guys? I don't feel any summons.
Course set for the Taurian system, Warp 7, and after some time passes, Nurse Chapel arrives on the bridge to chat with Uhura, because Uhura has noticed the men all acting strange, and we start to see that something is definitely affecting the men. Spock is hearing Vulcan marriage drums, and then he has a vision of this white-haired woman in a yellow dress banging on the drum. and then Kirk is also hallucinating what must be the same woman, or maybe a different one that looks the same, but he sees her holding a flower.
And Spock is thinking these visions have to be created by the probe. And Uhura's like, what visions? What are you seeing? We, meaning her and Chapel, don't see anything. Kirk is concerned enough to tell Uhura to take a medical reading and then call Dr. McCoy from the sickbay. So Uhura gets on the horn and calls Dr. McCoy. He doesn't answer.
McCoy's in his office with the door locked.
Oh my.
And
He's wanking.
white-haired woman in yellow dress pulled up in an incognito Pornhub tab.
Yeah, he's totally wanking to his vision.
Yeah, he is. This is when I changed my prediction.
Because
Okay.
you were way off.
Yeah. This Lorelei signal, this is the siren song, right? That's what this episode is going to be about.
Yep.
And the siren song gets stronger the closer they get to the star system. And suddenly, a planet seems to like uncloak directly ahead.
The men just kind of like go doe-eyed, and Scotty is the one leaving a ship's log, because the rest of the KSM plus another guy named Carver, they've beamed down to the planet already and left Scotty in charge.
Their scans of this planet show that there was once a vast civilization in the past, but now the readings are sparse and concentrated. And during this log, we kind of see the planet wobbling like a mirage, and then it changes from planet to woman in Scotty's mind. So Scotty's definitely affected too, but he can't go lock himself in the bathroom. And just before we cut down to the planet's surface, Uhura mentions that she's been double-checking Spock's sensor readings, and she's found a bunch of errors. What?
That's not like him.
On the planet, they discover what was once a great civilization, but now seems to be concentrated in this one building, and it still seems to be calling for them. And the initial conversation they have here is Spock trying to maintain some small bit of self-control and caution, and Kirk throwing caution to the wind.
He's like, it's fine. Let's go.
Yeah, get in,
Let's go
losers.
in.
We're going Star Trekking.
Star trekking across the universe.
They go into some sort of temple, and there are all of these women, white hair, blue eyes, gorgeously dressed.
All of them voiced by Nichelle and Majel.
Yes. Yes. And then the woman named Thela, who's the leader, introduces herself, and she already knows their names. She's like, welcome, James Kirk and Spock and McCoy. And then what the fuck else about Carver?
Yeah,
Carver's the
nothing.
red shirt. He got nothing. He didn't say shit either. I don't think.
She knows the UC red shirt's role. I don't even need
She's
to
like-
acknowledge that guy. He's going to die soon anyway.
Right.
Spock's scans show them to be superficially humanoid, but with a lot of internal differences. And Kirk's like, right, but is there a place for me to stick my dick? As long as there's a hole for my dick, I'm good.
Yep. They have like a unusual psychokinesis level, and McCoy says, being his usual McCoy, he's like, that's the first time I've ever admired a body function. They want to know how they knew their names, and Thela / Majel, she says something called the Optoad.
It's the upgrade from the Landru.
Yeah, I guess. Landru 2.
It's like when you went from Windows 98 to Windows ME. You remember that piece of shit, Windows ME?
Vista. Remember Windows Vista. The Optoad is Vista.
Okay.
So the Optoad is the thing that revealed their names to her. Again,
with this like tonal control of things, she kind of like hums that high note.
It's the stupidest sound. It's like something like that.
And the view screen slides open like a sliding door at the grocery store. And we see on the screen the Enterprise exterior and then that overhead shot of the bridge that they love so much in the series. So now we know that this species has strong psychokinesis ability and they use tonal control. But these women are super happy the Enterprise men responded to their signal, which may or may not have been a distress call. Don't worry about that.
We'll explain later. No big deal. Let's eat.
Yep, time to eat. We DoorDashed Indian food in your honor. I hope you guys like Indian food, right? The captain's log back from commercial really underscores how Kirk's mental clarity is being affected here. He talks about the beauty of this place, the answer to all a man's dreams, and he just kind of staggers and stumbles through this captain's log. On the planet, we're back in that bar where the Orion slave girl was dancing. Remember that episode where Scotty was on a murder trial or something?
They're sitting on rugs or pillows and just lounging around and being entertained by the women. And McCoy asks the question, where are the men, though? Thela's like, they're around, you know.
Yeah, they're in another compound. And Kirk's like, yeah, that makes sense. Is he thinking that the women have a kind of power over men and so it makes sense to keep them separated? You gotta keep them separated.
Or they're just so beautiful, you know.
Yeah, is this
there would be sexual chaos?
Or is this just daydreamy Kirk being agreeable because he's sniffing their pheromones or whatever? Speaking of things that don't make a lot of sense, a woman calls out Spock's name, and as he stands up, she tosses something at him, and it just hits him in the chest because he can't catch a ball for shit. I need the flashback to Spock's youth where he's got his ball glove and he's like begging Sarek to go out in the yard and play catch with him.
He doesn't.
And Sarek's like, baseball is an illogical Earth tradition that serves no useful purpose. Boy, throw that ball in the trash and never look back. Smash cut to Spock's moody music video. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon. Little boy blue and the man in the moon.
Wow.
I was real fucking high when I watched this episode.
But he didn't catch it, though, because he's about half out of his mind and he falls unconscious.
But then everybody else falls unconscious. But they didn't get hit with, nobody got thrown at. It was just Spock got a ball thrown at him and he missed it and then they all went unconscious. What?
I don't. You get a good point. Maybe that were and why was she throwing it? Why?
And what was it? Like, what does it do?
It looked like a red ruby or something. I don't know. It didn't look like fruit. Maybe it was fruit. I don't know. I think I'm going off on a cannabinoid tangent
it's
here.
It's like a towel, a rolled up towel that's been soaked in chloroform or something, and she just chucks it at them. I don't fucking know. And neither did the writers of this episode.
No, they did not. Thela and the gang take them to the slumber chambers because they need to rest. And McCoy, as he's being dragged off, he's like, must have been the nectar that's like strong as Saurian brandy.
As they drag these guys off to be sleep fucked or something, we see Thela drop a solitary tear down her cheek.
Yeah, I saw it. I did not understand it at the time.
No.
I'm like, what?
Yeah. Later in their chamber, the men awake to find themselves wearing some fashionably questionable headwear, and they're all old looking. Did this make you think this was the way these women stay young and beautiful? Like
a succubus.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Yeah. I thought that maybe they're just really, really ugly vampy looking creatures and they disguise themselves to look young and like human, and they need their power. I don't know.
Like that episode where Harry Mudd was selling the women that Venus drug to keep them young.
Oh, that's right.
Mm.
Ooh.
Kirk seems to have a place of honor in a separate room on a 4-post bed, and he's like, damn it, Spock, McCoy, that bitch tied me down without my consent, and consent is everything. Get me the fuck out of this. So this thing on their heads is like a circlet, right? It's like a little tiara looking.
Like a tiara, yeah.
But Kirk tries to take his off, and it seems like it causes pain or something to try to take off. Back on the Enterprise, Chapel and Uhura are reviewing the data that the women scientists have gathered because the men can't be trusted now. More so than normal. And Chapel's like, Uhura, would you rather beam down on an away team to a planet full of men or a planet full of bears?
I knew you were going to say that. I choose the bear.
Every time. So they know they have to act fast, and Uhura calls up Davison down in security to order an all-female security team standing by on every transporter on the ship and wait for her order.
Hell yeah.
Uhura in command is great. I want more of this.
Yes, she was like, fuck these guys. They're useless right now. I'm taking control. I was here for it.
Yep.
Back at the temple, the men are kind of like around Thiela's feet while she sits on the throne, and Spock's telling her, you know, we've got to get back to our duties on the ship. And she kind of tells him, you can't leave. You're needed here. And soon all the rest of the men are going to come here because we need them too. But then they try to leave, and the ladies, she's like, get them, ladies. And they all jump on, and they literally toss these guys around like they're freaking rag dolls.
Yeah, the one like picks McCoy up and like lifts him straight up in the air.
Like a baby.
She lifts McCoy up in the air, and the soundtrack goes, oh
my God.
Oh, God. Becca's out there right now going, what the fuck, you guys?
Were you guys watching Lion King?
Back on the Enterprise, Scotty is singing a melancholic tune in the captain's chair.
I'll take you home, Kathleen. He's got a beautiful voice, and it was sort of some sort of like Welsh, but I don't know. He's 3 sheets to the wind.
Uhura rocks up and basically tells him he's relieved of command. And she like flips a button on the armrest and records a log and kicks him out. And like, she promotes Chapel to acting chief medical officer.
Hell yeah.
This is the new buddy comedy I want. I want Captain Uhura and Chapel on adventures. That's what I want.
Me too. That would have been so awesome.
Right?
Back at the temple, the guys are just kind of figuring out, they've been recaptured basically, and they're looking at they've taken their equipment, and McCoy still has his med kit, and they think maybe they didn't see it as a danger. But McCoy fishes around in his med kit and finds something called cortropine, which is a stimulant, which I didn't know if they were going to give it to themselves or the ladies. Did they do anything with that?
Oh, they all hit those uppers.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So it was for them. They're going to do some stimulants, and then they're going to break out of jail.
And even with the stimulants, they can't get the door open. It's magnetically locked. So Spock uses the little medical scanner to disrupt the field. But just as they go through that door, Thiela comes into the room through a different door and sounds the alarm.
She's like, shit, they're gone.
This is another great scene where we see our heroes in shadow running comedically across the terrain.
I like that. They did that same effect in Yesteryear when young Spock was running across the desert. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a thematic choice for sure. And I like it. It's cool, yeah. The men climb into this thing that Kirk calls an urn. I thought it looked more like some kind of like rock or plant structure or something.
Yeah, I thought it was some sort of natural structure because it had even though it had an inside, it looked like there were vines growing up the side. And
it looked like a pitcher plant or something.
Yeah, but apparently not. It's something that they created, sculpted.
Yeah.
So they get inside to hide from them, the women are hot on their trails, but they don't find them for some reason. And as they're sitting around in a circle, Carver still not saying shit. The guys are like, hey, our headgear stopped glowing.
Spock takes note of this headband glowing, and he's already figured out that these headbands could be transferring their vital energy to the women, like they're being drained of their life forces. That would explain the aging and the weakness. In fact, Spock has also taken note of the fact that the women seemed listless and weak when they arrived, but now they're all energetic and ready to ride.
I didn't get that listless thing.
No, I didn't either.
Yeah.
When we first got here, no. So they do some quick math. It seems they're aging 10 years per day, so they'll be dead in 4 days. And then when they're dead and useless, the women will call down the other men from the Enterprise and suck their souls out too. So we got to warn the ship.
Spock, because he is Vulcan, it feels like his internal structure is different, so he's got more strength, or he's at least regained more strength than the rest of the guys. So he's going to be the one to go to the temple and contact the Enterprise.
So Spock goes back to the temple, hits the high F sharp, which opens the opto-odd, and it shows him that their equipment is hidden in a drawer at the base of the throne. And then we see Spock like crawling up the stairs to the throne, like he's really getting weak now. But he's able to get a partial call up to Uhura before his headband lights up and he loses consciousness again.
So back on the ship, Uhura is in command, and she's got an all-female security rescue party in accordance with what Spock requested. And so they go ahead and beam down, and they're met with Thela and the gang. And Uhura introduces herself, and I was like screaming at the TV because she's like Lieutenant Uhura of the Starship Enterprise. I mean, she's like in fucking command, looking for Captain Kirk. And Thela's like, just go back to your ship. You're not wanted here. And Uhura is like, until we find Kirk, we're not leaving. Thela brings in her troops behind her, and Uhura gives the order to fire with their phasers on stun, and they just start taking out women.
Then they go off in teams of 2 to search for Kirk and the gang, and Chapel gets a telepathic message from Spock, so she starts pushing on the wall, looking for a door or a switch or something. And when the door finally opens, there's Spock, old and dying on a bed, and he's unable to speak coherently.
Now, seems to have aged even more than the last time when they were inside the urn. And I thought it was supposed to be 10 years a day or something or whatever. But he's looking old as fuck.
Suddenly, a big old thunderstorm breaks out, and Kirk and the gang are still in this urn. And now it seems like they're trapped there. And I thought, well, just let it rain enough and you'll float to the top and then you can climb out.
Yeah. So they've taken Spock to sick bay, and Chapel's kind of fawning over him.
She is an emotional wreck seeing Spock like this. Like, it is just, she's up in her feels.
But Spock has still got his wits about him enough to give some orders and say, divert the ship's energy into the deflector shields to block the probe. And Chapel's like, yeah, we tried that already. But he's like, use it all.
I don't know if you felt some type of way about this, but up to this point, I was like, fuck yeah, girl power. But in this scene, Spock gives Chapel instructions. And when she says they already tried that, Spock's like, well, you obviously didn't try it the right way. You have to divert all the power to the shields. As if Chapel and Uhura wouldn't have thought to try that and then tried it. Like, this whole thing just felt weird to me. Like, they were so close. We're like 90%. I'm almost there. Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. And then we stopped. And like, they don't get to come up with the solution. I want Uhura and Chapel to solve this problem without men telling them what to do. That's what I want. And we got 98% of that. So I guess that's something. I don't know.
I mean, they gave the women the power, but not really. You know what I mean?
Right.
They gave them enough to make the audience feel good about. But then back over to the men solving everything so that the audience, men in the audience felt better. I don't know. You're right.
The women on the planet are coming out of their heater stun, and Uhura demands they release Kirk and the others, or they're going to destroy this temple. And Thela offers to do a little exposition, so she hums and turns on the Opto-Odd and turns it to the History Channel.
I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens. But she literally does give the whole history of how they got there. They show a picture of a man and a woman, and she says this is a race where we are descended from, but then they came to this planet when their planet began to die, and they didn't know that this planet drains humanoid energy.
So rather than turn around and go find a different planet to colonize, they stayed.
Right.
Why? And
they stayed and they didn't try to solve their problem, and they went on killing. And this is when I realized that what that tier was for was because it's not that they wanted to do it, but they had to. So the planet was draining humanoid energy. The women developed some sort of resistance to it, but the men did not. And it drained the men. And now, in addition to what the women gained as far as the resistance to it, they also have some sort of psychokinetic ability to control men.
This manipulation drained the men, causing them to die, and they have to recharge every 27 years. So again, rather than go find another planet to colonize, then they started siren songing men into their trap every 27 years to suck their souls.
And did they say in here, because I can't remember if they just couldn't have children? And then there's no men, so obviously they can't procreate anyway. So,
yeah, another woman explains that this leaves them immortal but eternal prisoners. They neither age nor die, and they can't bear children. Hold on. If they stopped eating men's souls, wouldn't they die?
Yeah.
What do you mean they can't die? Sure they can.
Yeah.
Stop eating souls.
You're right. Immortal means you can't die.
Mm-hmm.
But they could just let themselves die.
Right.
Or let themselves get old if that's what they're fighting instead of death. I don't know. Good point. I didn't catch that.
Meanwhile, the storm is really filling up this urn, and the Opto-Odd shows the women where Kirk and the gang are. So,
and they've forgotten how to swim. So,
yeah, that's not that's not part of the Starfleet Academy entrance exam, I guess.
There's no water. There's no oceans in space. I don't know why they it didn't make any sense why they just float, like you said, float to the top, swim, and jump out.
Yeah. So they all run out into the storm, into the garden, and light up this urn with their heaters. And as it shatters, both the rainwater and the men come flooding out. Uhura gets the men up to sickbay, and Chapel's poking buttons with no success. This was another moment that annoyed me. This is the moment that Spock speaks the solution. And I really wanted Uhura and Chapel to be the heroes of this episode. Like, let them figure out the puzzle.
Yeah. They weren't ready for that back then.
I guess not. Spock's solution is to use the transporters to de-age them. You dematerialize them old and then use the transporter's copy of their previous molecular pattern to rematerialize them back to their young selves. Here's the problem with this gimmick. Now, I don't know if you remember, but we see Dr. Pulaski use this trick in TNG. Same thing. She's old, and and it might have been a callback to this episode. I don't even remember. But if this is a technological possibility, then couldn't they just constantly revert back? Like, anytime you go on an away team, we just beam you back and apply the pattern from when you
your
left.
Injuries are gone.
Yeah.
And everything. But no.
Kirk fucks an Orion and picks up a new STD. Just load the old pattern into the transporter and it's gone.
And filter it out.
Yeah, why don't we do this all the time?
And also, there was another episode, remember, where they all got older. Why didn't they do that then? Anyway.
Spock says that the odds are rough on this plan, so maybe that's why we don't do it all the time. I don't know. Anyway, the away team is beamed back to the planet Old. Scotty reprograms the transporter and beams them back up, not without a bit of tension building, of course. And after they materialize on the transporter pad, Kirk asks if it worked, and Uhura says, "You're more handsome than ever." Again, 98%. We were 98% where I wanted to be in this episode. It was very close, but there were moments like this. At least we get some closure this week, rather than warping away and never thinking about these women again. Thela destroys the transmitter, as Uhura promises to send a ship crewed by women to relocate them to a planet where they can survive. And Thela seems to be looking forward to this new mortal life, a life of hope, new learning, perhaps love. Oh, it is a much better future than immortality.
Boy, I'm sure glad that's over with.
I'm happy the affair is over.
Me too.
A most annoying, emotional episode.
Yeah, but you know, I learned something today.
When dreams become more important than reality, you give up travel, building, creating.
One jealous god, if all this makes a god.
By sparing your helpless enemy, who surely would have destroyed you, you demonstrated the advanced trait of mercy.
Frankly, I was rather dismayed by your use of the term half-breed. You must admit, it is an unsophisticated expression.
Let's start right there. This is the why would you want heaven to be real thing, right? Like to spend an eternity doing anything, much less worshiping some god, but like to spend eternity, like
just because you don't want to die.
Look, I'm only 45 and there are days when I'm like, this has got to be over soon, right?
I just think every day is a day closer to death.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? It is, to be honest.
And one of these days I am going to want the sweet release. You know, I can't imagine just the concept of immortality, the concept of living forever in paradise or whatever. Like that doesn't say, there's only so many games of horseshoes you can play before you're fucking bored. You know what I mean? Like,
how do you know there's going to be horseshoes?
I don't know, shuffleboard or something.
Horseshoes in heaven. That sounds like a country song.
Oh man.
But yeah, I mean, we're chasing something that we're always chasing. We want to live longer, even like today, medical stuff. We're like, how can we live forever? And would you want to? Would you really?
No.
And you'd have to support yourself somehow after like age 120, I guess. Like if everybody's that age, are you going to be working? I mean, I know I'm going off on a tangent, but like, what's the point?
Yeah.
We're not meant to, our bodies aren't meant to last that long.
Yeah. So maybe that's my punch up for this story. Like talk more about the misery of immortality or debate it in some way. Like I think we could have talked about that more.
Yeah. There's a trade-off. Like if you want immortality, you got to give up something. And for them, it was, they ain't got no man. They can't have any men. You know, and maybe they didn't need men. They had each other. So
I also was really loving the girl power in this episode, with the exception of the couple of things we talked about. But yeah, give me Uhura and Chapel kicking ass and taking names more often.
I was on board.
That was so good. Yeah.
And then again, actually trying to help somebody, like so they tried to kill you, but they didn't mean to. You know, there was a reason, and they were able to get to that reason and actually come up with a way to help them, which is what they're supposed to do.
And something that you've said recently, you know, this is the Melllvar thing again. Like, why didn't we give this compassion and empathy to Melllvar in that first episode and help him get off that planet? These women, we are trying to help them get off that planet so that they can go live normally.
And these ladies have killed a lot of people. Like every 27 years, these whole ships disappear. Like, so all is forgiven because they were doing it to survive, I guess.
Yeah. Did anybody die in this episode?
No.
Damn.
Even though I feel like I should have written something for Carver because they absolutely ignored him the entire episode.
He was just there. He was just there. Yeah,
he didn't speak or no. They didn't even say his name. But after they got to the planet, didn't even say his name. I had to rewind to check to see if he was actually still in the urn. I was like, maybe they killed him. But no, he was there. He just didn't say anything.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Let's get right to business.
Fine, I'm authorized to pay an equitable price. Federation has invested a great deal of money in our training. They're about due for a small return.
Listen, we pay off percentages. We're entitled to a little service for our money, huh?
Is this the way your citizens do business? Their right of petition?
They pay their percentages and the boss takes care of
them. Is there anything else?
All right, so we want to thank all of our patrons. We especially want to thank our founding admirals, Russell, Allie, Peter, Sarah, and Sherry. And this week, we also want to welcome a new patron to our crew. Welcome aboard, Bruce. Lieutenant Bruce.
Welcome, Bruce. Bruce.
Bruce has been very active with us on social media, which we appreciate. We love hearing from people and talking about Trek. So thanks for supporting the show. We appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think he's here in Colorado, so maybe we can catch him out, out and about somewhere when we're doing our whatever we do.
Yeah, come see us at Fort Collins in the fall. We're going to be doing a thing then, and come hike with us. I don't know if he's a hiking dude or not, but we do lots of hiking.
Yeah, definitely. We could just do a weekend where we just hike, which is what we like to do.
Hell yeah. Listeners of Humanist Trek at Tanagra, the podcast, it's humor in laughter. Dathon on the Patreon Sea.
Shaka, when the reviews fell. Kahlo, his pledge at Patreon.
Humanist Trek, their content wide. Darmok and Jalad at Patreon. Pledge with arms wide.
Mirab, with your support, your laughter, Temba, his arms open. Patreon.com/humanisttrek, where laughter flows. So Koth, in joyous unity.
I assume you're loitering around here to learn what efficiency rating I plan to give your cadets.
Trainees, to the briefing room. Is that all you gotta say? What about my performance?
Aren't you dead?
I don't believe this was a fair test of my command abilities. There was no way to win.
There's no correct resolution. It's a test of character.
Now, what is that supposed to mean?
I am understandably curious.
May I ask you a question?
Who's been holding up the damn elevator?
Becca is back with us now to reveal the answer to this week's Starfleet Academy Cadet Challenge for the Lorelei signal. Remind us first the question.
This is the first of only 2 times in any Star Trek incarnation where we see what happened.
We said in agreement, Uhura in charge.
The answer is Lieutenant Uhura assumes command of the Enterprise.
Correct.
Hell yeah.
Yep, we'll take those points. Okay. Next time, we'll be watching Season 1, Episode 5, More Tribbles, More Troubles. Cyrano Jones introduces tribbles that cannot reproduce. So we're revisiting the world of the tribbles. What is our question for More Tribbles, More Troubles?
As you are aware, or you should be by this point, the tribbles in the original TOS episode where we first saw them were brown. There's a long-standing urban legend explaining that the tribbles are colored pink in this episode because director Hal Sutherland was colorblind. However, this is not the real reason. What was the actual reason behind changing the color?
God damn it. I am so mad at myself right now because as I watched this episode ahead, I thought to myself, oh, that's right. The tribbles are pink. Why the fuck are they pink? And I never looked it up. Son of a bitch. But here's my guess. I think that the one of two things. The brown either was not visible enough, was too blendy-inny to the cells, and they wanted them to stand out more, or because it's a children's, if we were aiming this at a children's audience, that we want bright colors to draw them in.
I would go, gosh, both of them are good answers. I'm just thinking of the color. There were so many different variations of brown that they would have had to do.
I was hoping that Becca would take both of my answers as one answer.
You have to pick one, Sarah.
I would go with the kids one. I agree with that. The kids, because it was a cartoon aimed at children.
Right.
So.
Okay, well, just to split the odds, I'll take the other answer then, that the brown would blend too much with the backgrounds and such.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It was targeted to kids, so they wanted to make them look harmless. Pink seems harmless for a child's toy.
All right, well, if you want to play along, you know how to do that. Go to your social media, share this episode, use the hashtag Starfleet Challenge and your answer. We'll pick out our favorite answer to be our winner. And then next time on Humanist Trek, we will be reviewing Star Trek The Animated Series, Season 1, Episode 5, More Tribbles, More Troubles.
Diftor, Hex, Smoothma,
Kapla!
Humanist Trek is available wherever you replicate your podcast. Follow us on all the social medias at Humanist Trek. Become a patron at patreon.com/humanisttrek. Open hailing frequencies to podcast@humanisttrek.com and visit our website, humanisttrek.com. Humanist Trek is a production of Sarah Austin Media.